Hey everybody, what's up and welcome back to my channel. I took last week off just to kind of re-energize and not have to film and edit, so I'm back this week for you with a few videos, including this Dazzled or Disappointed of the new Natasha Denona 5-pan coral palette. I typically love Natasha Denona 5-pan palettes, so I was really excited to get my hands on this one. I've been playing with it, I've been using it, and I've got plenty of thoughts for you, a couple of comparisons. So if you're interested in seeing if this palette is right for you, then just keep on watching. Alright guys, so first off, let's just go ahead and go right into the Sephora website. As mentioned, this is a 5-pan palette, so it's not like the little $25 mini ones. This is a full-size pan palette. It's just that it comes with 5 pans of product. So first off, it does retail for $48. So yes, it is on the higher price end, but Natasha Denona is luxury. So there is that. It says it's an ultimate palette for autumn featuring Natasha's legendary saturated pure color pigments. It's free of sulfates and parabens. It's also cruelty free. It says Natasha's legendary saturated pure color pigments in the ultimate palette for autumn. This user-friendly palette is combined with 5 multi-use coral shades for the possibility to create a selection of looks, varying from a classic daily look to a sparkling glam eye look. This 5-pan palette contains Natasha's iconic dazzling duochromes, metallics, and creamy mattes made from mineral pearls for a smooth and long-lasting application. So that is that. Again, $48, but that is right in line with her other 5-pan palettes. So the box is very pretty. It's kind of got like a holographic type of feel to it. It is very pretty. I like it when she changes it up from her normal white box packaging. I find the white boxes to be really boring, so whenever she changes it up, I really like that. So just so that you know, it is made in Italy. It has a shelf life of 24 months. And let's see, I'm looking for the sizing of each. So it's 2.5 grams or 0.08 ounces for 5 pans of product. Basically, all 5 pans of product are that size, the 0.08. So let's go ahead and go into the actual palette. Nothing has changed from her other 5-pan palettes. It is the clear acrylic cover, and again, full-size pans of product. You open it up. I have always liked these clear acrylic covers. They're very thick, they're sturdy, and like you can tell, they're very good quality. They're the kind of acrylic I feel that like when you buy your makeup organization or storage or whatever, that real thick, expensive kind of acrylic, which, I don't know, something about it I really enjoy. You open it up and you've got your 5 pans of product. Let me bring you in so that you can kind of see them up close. So here's the thing that immediately came to my mind when I opened it up is that this is a coral palette, and honestly I see 1 coral shade. I know that the description had said that it's got 5 coral shades, perfect for fall, but I mean at most 2 if you consider this one, which I don't know if that even came to my mind as a coral. This matte did, and the rest I thought, well, that's kind of weird because this is kind of like a purple blue, and then you've got like a red, which again, my mind immediately went to the cranberry palette. So I will bring out the cranberry palette here in a while to give you a comparison so that you know if, do you already own something like this in your collection. But first off, let's go ahead and go into the swatches, then we'll go into the demo, and then I'll take you into my thoughts after that. So here are all 5 swatches. It is, let's see, Kai, Lyria, Abalone, Dakota, and Lola. That is 1 swipe swatch for pigmentation purposes so that you can see what those look like just with 1 swipe so that you know if they have to be built up. Okay, so now that you have an idea of what the swatches look like, let's go ahead and move into the demo portion so that you can see how I got this eye look. Obviously with a 5-pan palette, there's not a whole lot to choose from, which honestly can make it quite nice because then you're not having to decide. There's really not a whole lot of decisioning because you have 5 shades, 2 of which are matte. So you pretty much know what to put in your crease. So this is going to be a very quick and easy demo, but hopefully you find it helpful helpful, enjoyable, to know if this is easy to work with. So let's get into that. All right, so I'm going to start by placing the shade Lyria all over the crease. I am going to go in a couple of times to build this up just because I want a nice, bright, fresh coral look on or in my crease. Next up, I'm going in with the shade Dakota, and I'm using a more dense shader brush, but I'm using this for precise application in the crease, and I'm doing this because I want to add a little bit of depth and definition. Now I'm just going to blend those two together just so that that darker shade doesn't look as harsh. And now going in with that cranberry looking shade called Lola. This is going to be our all over lid shade. I am placing it on the outer and in the inner portion of the lid, leaving that middle space open. Next up, I'm going to go in with the shade Kai, and going in just with a shader brush, I'm going to place this on the middle portion of the lid a couple of times to build it up. Next, I'm going in with the shade Abalone with my finger, and I'm just going to put this where the shades Lola and Kai meet, just for a little added sparkle. Next up, I'm going back in with that shade Kai, and I'm just going to reapply that to the middle just to build back up what I lost. And then going in with Lyria with a pencil brush on my lower lash line, I'm just going to line the lower lash line. Going in with Dakota, once again, I'm going to add this to the outer portion of my lower lash line to deepen it up. And that is the final look. Right, so I hope you enjoyed that portion of the video. Let's go ahead and go into a couple of comparisons before I take you into my final thoughts. So I want to show you a side-by-side of the coral versus the cranberry, because again, that red shade back here really made me think of the cranberry palette, and I thought, oh goodness, I hope this one isn't already in the cranberry palette or something similar. And to me, $48 definitely isn't worth paying for something with 4 shades if I already kind of own one. So let's go ahead and let's see how I can do this without making them fall. Okay, cranberry is on top, coral is on bottom. So definitely different. The thought that came to my mind right away, it was immediately put to rest as soon as I busted out my cranberry palette and saw that they really are different. The cranberry palette has one true, what I would consider like cranberry shade, and it is like a satiny matte type of finish, probably more matte than anything. No, I think it's satin. Now I don't remember. Anyways, and this one right here is a metallic. So definitely different, although again, I thought it was kind of weird that there'd be like a cranberry type shade in a coral palette. But anyways, next up, you've got this sparkly shade, kind of like it's almost like a topper type shade, even though it's not. It is a blue purple in the coral shade, and then it is literally like a lilac purple in the cranberry. So let me just go ahead and give you swatches of those two real quick side by side so that you can see what the difference looks like. Kind of the same type of formula, although I do find the one in the cranberry palette to be smoother and softer. So this is the one from the cranberry palette. This is the one from the coral palette. Definitely a lot of sparkle there. But those are those two side by side. Aside from that, really, there is no similarity between those, and that wasn't even a similarity. It's just wanting to show you the sparkly shade in each. So if you own the cranberry palette, you're definitely not going to go wrong by getting the coral palette. There's really no... It's not the same in any way, shape, or form. So the other one I wanted to compare to you was the ColourPop Sweet Talk palette, because truly and honestly, like this up to this point has been my favorite coral palette. Like literally, if you were to tell me a coral palette, this is what I would think of, and that's why I was so surprised that this one wasn't. So you already know what this one looks like. This one's a super popular palette on the ColourPop website, and I think it's like $18. So this is what this one looks like, and let me give you also a side-by-side so that you can see what this looks like here. And there is the comparison right there. So definitely I would say there are some similarities, quite frankly. I will tell you, this coral shade right here, that one is a peachy coral that I didn't find in this palette, although there is some similarity. There's one that's a little bit more orangey, and then there's one that's a little bit more pink in the ColourPop palette. And I'll give you those examples here shortly. As far as the brown, I feel like you can pretty much dupe this in a lot of palettes because they come out with brands come out with so much neutral. But this shade right here, very, very similar in the pan, and I will give you, let me just go ahead and give you swatches now so that you can see. So right here, similar but definitely different. This one being a little bit lighter, this one being a little more brown toned. So let me give you those. Oops, I did a bad job of swatching that. So that is still not swatching right, but I think it's because I just wiped my hands on a baby wipe. So that's what those two look like compared. Let me give you a couple of comparisons for that actual peachy shade. Okay, so this is the shade from the Natasha Denona. These two are from the ColourPop palette, and you're gonna see how they're similar but different. So the first one down here is Natasha Denona, and then these two are ColourPop. So you see how these two are kind of in between this one. So again, definitely some similarity there, although not identical, but truly and honestly, there is a whole lot more peach or coral in the Sweet Talk palette by ColourPop than there is in the Natasha Denona. So it's just something to consider if you're wanting a coral type palette, but not wanting to spend the money. But just wanted to show you those in case you even already own them and are wondering if this coral palette is right for you. So let's just go ahead and go into thoughts for this actual palette. So first off, I think the first impression I had when I first opened it again is that, okay, there's not as much coral in here as I really thought there was going to be, but the Natasha Denona 5-pan palettes really have been my favorite, especially since the Cranberry palette. That one really amazed me, and I don't know if I didn't have high expectations or what, but I love that one so much that that one set the bar for pretty much any future 5-pan palettes. So I already in my mind expected this one to be as good as that one, to fall in love with that one as quickly. Anyways, so my first impression was that this doesn't have a whole lot of coral. Now let's start with the mattes. I find the mattes to perform just like Natasha Denona mattes do. They're very soft to the touch. They're very blendable. They build very easily. And if you go in too heavy with this one, you'll go in with too much. I enjoy building it up, and it doesn't take long to build it up at all. This one, I typically go in with a couple of layers like you saw in the demo, but that's just because I do like to build it up. I don't want a super light wash of color, and I love the shade that it builds up to. So the mattes are beautiful, consistent in what you know from Natasha Denona. Definitely no complaints there. Now let's go ahead and go into these, what I consider to be the standout shades, the shimmer shades, the metallic, that kind of thing. So first off, let's start on this side of the house, or this side of the palette. This shade is beautiful, but the only thing is there's something about it that it's not as intense as I would like, and it does take me building it up a couple of times. I have used it all over my lid. Today I used it in the middle, just like you saw. When I used it all over my lid, it looked really, really pretty. There's something about this type of light peachy shade along with a deeper shade like this that just gives you more of a tan look and makes you look just really healthy, and it did that. It's just that it wasn't as intense as I thought it was going to be. If you wet your brush, it does intensify it. I've used it both with a brush and my finger, and I find that they both give me the same result, so nothing to speak on there except for that. It was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad, but that's that. This particular shade right here, it's very pretty swatched, but when you put it on your eyelid, you have to build it up so much. So I just realized that I forgot to put that in my inner corner. Hang on, let me grab a brush. Let me zoom you in real quick and I'll show you that, because I don't know why I didn't think of that when I was doing the demo. Hang on. Let's grab a mirror. Okay, so going in with a little brush, and this video is going to be all over the place because I'm going to go in with this right here, and you're going to see that you can see a little bit of, it's actually showing up very good on camera. This side right here, I went in with a wet brush just because after a couple of layers, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm just going to go ahead and spray my brush. And this one right here, obviously we're going in with a dry brush, but it's actually looking really nice on camera, but it does take, that's a couple of layers, and I would even go in with one more. So that is that. I will also tell you, let me zoom you back out, hang on. I will also tell you that that shade works better with your finger or with a wet brush, as I just mentioned, because over here I did it with a wet brush and it started to build up quicker and easier. Also, again, with your finger, that's why I did it with my finger when I went in on my lid. I consider this to be more of a topper shade just because, again, and I don't know if it's even meant to have a whole lot of pigmentation. It may be more for the sparkle, but it just was a little bit, wasn't as intense as I was looking for. Maybe because, again, I'm used to the one from the cranberry palette and that one builds up for me very quickly. It's very sparkly. Lastly, this one's very pretty as well, but it's more of a muted. It's not like a very bright foiled red shade. It's more of a muted metallic red shade. I don't even know if that makes sense, but it's very pretty. I feel like I'm making it sound like these are not pretty, they don't work. No, they are. I'm just kind of giving you the spin on them from someone who just really loves a whole lot of something to pack a punch when it's supposed to be metallic or foiled. And this one, you saw, it went on very easily. It layers very, very nicely. It's just not as much of a bright red, and maybe it's not supposed to be because of the whole coral theme. So all in all, it's a very nice palette. I think it's very wearable. It's very everyday. I think there's a couple of things you kind of need to work with if you have in mind something different, if you're looking for more like metallic, or if you're looking for this to be super like pack a punch type thing. It takes a little bit of work and it's not as exciting as the cranberry palette. Now, it doesn't mean I'm like, so I'm not disappointed by it, but I'm also not dazzled. I think more than anything, I was just a little underwhelmed. I guess that would make it kind of a disappointed, but it's not disappointed to where I'd want to return it, if that makes any sense. Typically when I'm super disappointed with something, I will want to return it because I'm like, that's a lot of money to spend on something I'm not going to use. And this I will use. I like it. I'm just underwhelmed. Again, I would have loved for the coral palette to be an actual coral palette. I don't know. Maybe some of y'all say, I think coral palette and this is what I think of. Who knows? Everybody's different. For me, I was a little underwhelmed, so I guess that would mean I'm a little disappointed in this one. It didn't live up to the cranberry palette, and you know, that's that. It did say in the description that this is perfect for autumn, for fall. I can see that being the case, so that now that we're about to transition hopefully soon out of this Hades heat into the fall, this would be a very nice palette to use. It is very everyday, so if you've got a tan going on right now, this really would look beautiful on you. I have very much enjoyed the looks that it has given me. It's just, again, with the cranberry palette, I am so, every time I finish a look, I'm like, wow, I'm so excited about this. And this, I'm like, okay, I really like it, but I'm not as excited about it, if that makes sense. Alright guys, I hope you found this review helpful. If you were intrigued or interested on that coral palette, or even just wondering if you have something in your collection that's similar to that, I hope you found this beneficial in your quest for that perfect coral palette. Before I let you go, I need to give you the verse of the day. Today's comes from Isaiah 41:10, and it says, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." All right, guys, I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you'll consider subscribing if you are new to my channel and you want to stick around for future reviews and videos. I would really appreciate it. And lastly, if you will give this video a thumbs up, that would really, really help me out more than I could say. It only takes a quick second. Thank you again for stopping by. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.